Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today I am showing you a fairly fun new little Absol promo. It is not going to change the world of the Pokémon trading card game, but it's a kind of tech that could be fun to use as a one-off in some dark decks. Now, it is being released in a rather cool pack that looks like this, and gives you 2 packs of cards, the promo, and gives you a really quite funky little pin of Litten, Rowlet and Poplio. And if nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is worth buying for the rather cool pin. But if you want to know about the card, let's have a gander. Now, it is a basic Pokemon, which means that it's fairly easily searched out. You can start with it, etc. 100 HP is fairly standard. 1 retreat is fairly standard, weakness to fighting is expected, and resistance to psychic is expected, but still kind of nice. Now, we have an attack and we have an ability, both of which can be fairly useful. The ability, Lamentation, as well as being a pretty funky word, says that if this Pokemon is active and damaged by an opponent's attack, discard a random card from your opponent's hand. So if it's sitting on the bench and it gets hit by by a bit of bench damage from an attack, then it doesn't work. But as long as he's in the active, you get to discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Now, on its own, this is kind of okay. It's not great, but it is an interesting ability, and it's one that will occasionally mean you can discard something like a double colourless energy or your opponent's only supporter. Every so often, people do get to the stage where they'll end their turn with a single card in hand, and that will be a Professor Sycamore. Well, with this ability, you can discard that Sycamore, and if they leave 2 cards in their hand, a Sycamore and something else, you've still got a 50% chance of hitting it. But what I really like this with is with the supporter card Delinquent. You get to discard a stadium card that's in play, and then your opponent has to discard 3 cards from their hand. Now, most of the time, your opponent doesn't really have 3 cards in their hand they're okay to discard. Delinquent it's an underplayed thing at the moment. Some players are turning onto it, some players are really liking it, but it's the kind of thing which some people are a bit ahead of the curve, and when they drop it in a game, it can be absolutely devastating. Now, they choose the 3 cards that they discard, but of course, often you'll be playing Delinquent right after they've attacked into Lamentation. So you've discarded a card at random from their hand, and then they have to choose 3 cards to discard when you play the Delinquent. It could work. Now, in terms of the attack, 60 damage for free energy isn't great. Now, it's a dark and a double colourless, and he's a basic Pokemon, so Max Elixir does work, double colourless energy does work. You can even use something like Baby Yveltal's Oblivion Wing here to make the cost a little bit more manageable. So, not spectacular by any stretch of the imagination, but 3 for 60, it's not that difficult to get the energy on there. What I really like here, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat during your opponent's next turn. Now, I personally have been playing Garchomp quite a lot, as regular viewers of this channel will know, and I enjoy using Gabite Sandtomb for this exact reason. A lot of people play things like Floatstone or free retreat Pokemon, like Mew for instance, and they don't always put themselves in a position where they can do anything other than retreat. Now, you combine this with something like a Lysander, and you might be able to get a free hit KO on a Hooper for 2 prizes. This is very much a desperation play. This is I can't take the last couple prizes, I'm out of good attackers, I know I'll try and get 2 cheeky prizes from a Hooper. Or it's I've had a really slow start, I haven't got anything, I know I'll use Absol to slow the game down to try and take a prize or 2 while stopping them retreat. This is not going to win you every single game, but playing with Garchomp, I have won multiple games purely on the basis of using Gabite Sandtomb, and Absol will do the same thing for you here. Yeah, your opponent might have a Switch or an Escape Rope or an Olympia, in which case fine, they're going to get around this, but there will be plenty of games where all they've got is a Floatstone or a free retreating Pokemon, or something like a Manaphy, or even just energy they can use to retreat. And in those games, you can either buy yourself time, or sometimes you can actually take 2 free prizes just by stopping something like a Hooper retreating and just going ahead with it. Now, as a side note, it won't work on a Shaman because they can attach a double colourless energy and use Sky Return, but I have won plenty of games doing this. Absol is a one-of tech. You're only ever going to put one of in your deck, but it will win games. Not a stunning card, not a game-changing card, but a fun little tech that will win some people games. Something to consider every time you make a dark deck. Now, you guys have told me you want more of these mini card reviews for interesting but not spectacular cards like Absol, so make sure you click that like button, make sure you've subscribed, and of course, go nuts in the comment section, but try and at least be polite. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget that you can follow me on Twitter @TheWassy. Click the thumbnail that just came up as well. It'll make me happy. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.